Bobby Lashley's contract expires soon, and he is expected not to return back to the company. This is major news because he was seen as one of the top stars in the company, loved by many. So today, I'm going to run through his entire second run in WWE, and I'll discuss whether or not WWE fumbled the almighty. Let's start off with his return in 2018. Ah yes, the grand return of Bobby Lashley where he interrupted the live concert of Elias. This was already off to a horrible start because why are we plugging someone who was one of the hottest free agents on the market into the mid-card scene? Nonetheless, it was still exciting to see him back in the company, but with the way booking was at the time, it was only a matter of time before things took a turn for the worse. The following week was the Superstar shakeup. Yeah, that abomination of a concept. Bobby Lashley was part of a 5v5 match against the Miz Entourage. Yeah, he was already being put in worthless matches not even a week after returning. Ridiculous. The following week, he's in yet another tag team match, but this time with Braun Strowman against Zayn and Owens. Okay, so in 3 weeks, he already got a total of 2 tag team matches from Bobby Lashley. That's a great way to build up your hottest free agent. His next appearance was in the Greatest Royal Rumble. And no, I'm not calling it the Greatest Royal Rumble. That's actually the name of the event. Because if I was the one that was to name it, it would be the shittiest Royal Rumble. Because man, did this match stink. Bobby Lashley came in at 44, and yeah, he didn't do much, so let's just leave it at that. The next week, Bobby Lashley was involved in yet another tag team match. I'm not going to waste my time further with that, but just know Bobby's team won. The PLE of that month was Backlash, and I bet you would never guess what Bobby was a part of. A match for the WWE champion. He was in a tag match. Surprise, surprise, he won that match, and somehow that warrants him and the loser a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank. It was Elias versus Bobby versus Owens, and Owens came out with the victory. That same night, a rivalry started between Bobby and Sammy, and the base of it was Sammy exposing the real person that Lashley is hiding from the world. Then he brings up that he found his 3 sisters on Facebook and that they have a story to tell so they can expose Bobby Lashley. The following week, Sammy brings out the sisters, and it was one of the most cringe segments you'll probably ever watch. The sisters each tell their stories about the traumatizing things Bobby did, and then Bobby comes in and cleans house, and the segment is over. This shit sucks. The following week, Sami Zayn was faking an apology, and then Bobby comes out and challenges him at Money in the Bank. The match went 6 minutes and Bobby took the W. This story somehow made it onto a pay-per-view. I'm not even going to waste your time. The next 3 weeks were tag team matches with Roman Reigns. The first week, they beat the Revival. Second week, they lost. The third week, they won by DQ. Vince McMahon had an erection for "Can they coexist, pal?" storylines. They had tensions during the tag matches, which led to a match at Extreme Rules. Surprisingly, Bobby Lashley got the clean win over Roman Reigns, and things finally looked like it was heading towards the right direction. The next show, he was in a triple threat match to determine who's going to face Roman next week in a #1 contenders match to challenge for the Universal title. Bobby Lashley literally beat Roman Reigns clean the day before, and he has to face Roman again in order to secure a title opportunity? Get out of my face with that illogical bullshit. Bobby ended up losing to Roman Reigns, and yet again, we had another pay-per-view that was main evented by Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. After this, they plugged him in a story with Elias. He went from fighting the big dog to fighting a bottom feeder on the roster. This feud was the drizzling shits. Leo Rush suddenly became the manager of Bobby Lashley, and the whole world couldn't have cared any less. Somehow Kevin Owens was dragged into this, and then there was a match made at Super Showdown. Kevin Owens and Elias versus Bobby Lashley and John Cena. What the hell happened to this timeline? Are we in 2007? This match was whatever. Cena wrestled for like 2 minutes and it was over. Then he was booked into the most pointless matches that you can ever think of. He got plugged into a feud with Finn Balor, and it was really boring. It was just them constantly having rematches every single week, getting a victory on one another. If you ever wonder why WWE 2K constantly books rematch after rematch after rematch, you have to blame the actual product, because that's what was actually going on in real life. In the midst of this rivalry, for some reason, Bobby was in the World Cup tournament and was eliminated in the first round by Seth Rollins in 5 minutes. Let me remind you guys that everything I have mentioned so far has been in the span of 5 months. For some reason, this grants him a qualifying match to enter the Survivor Series match. What? Bobby beat Elias and he was now part of Team Raw. At the end of the Survivor Series match, Bobby was now a part of this new faction with Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre. We all know how this thing goes. Weeks of the most pointless and directionless booking you'll ever witness on live TV. And he was awarded with a match on the kickoff show at TLC and he lost. Yikes. Somehow, a few weeks later, he was rewarded with a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship against Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. He won the match and finally secured his first championship since returning, but it's not like they were gonna do anything with him anyway. He would go on to participate in the 2019 Royal Rumble, which makes no sense because you're already a champion, so why not just defend it on a pay-per-view? You would think turning Bobby heel would benefit him, but he was paired with Finn Balor in a feud of all people, so that didn't help his case. Anyways, he lost his championship on the next pay-per-view in a 2-on-1 handicap match. How to bury a wrestler 1-on-1. After this, it was rinse and repeat matches. And at Fastlane, Bobby and his group would face the Shield and lost once again like the pathetic faction that they were. For some reason, this grants him a championship match the following night against Finn Balor. He won the title back and nobody fucking cares. The next few weeks on the road to WrestleMania had to be some of the most lazy booking ever. Just no real substance, and they expected the fans to care. This was quite literally the worst time for WWE in a very long time period. Finn Balor brought back his demon persona at WrestleMania and defeated Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental Championship, and the crowd goes mild. I would literally throw up for explaining his booking for the next few months after this, so I'm just going to narrate while I show footage of his. Tag match after tag match, and none of it mattered at the end of the day. All of this losing, and for some reason he was still getting #1 contender matches for the Universal title? And no, he didn't win that match. What do you think this was? A career revival moment? Laughable. A couple weeks later, he found himself in a feud with Braun Strowman that ended with him losing to the Monster at Extreme Rules in a last man standing match. He then participated in a Team Hogan versus Team Flair match at Crown Jewel. Yippee, I guess. Then he proceeds to have one of the worst feuds of the modern era, taking Rusev's wife. This was just awful in every way. Instead of having Bobby be portrayed as this monster he was supposed to be, they have him take Rusev's wife and have him play the homewrecker role. And in the end, Bobby Lashley beats Rusev. This was just embarrassing all throughout. Then the pandemic hit and Bobby Lashley was finally being booked like a threat. He was destroying everyone in his path. And then the best thing finally happened for his career. He got paired with MVP. After a few weeks of domination, he faced Drew McIntyre at Backlash for the WWE Championship. He lost, but he was finally on the right path in terms of character work. MVP worked well as his manager because Bobby wasn't great at talking, so having someone do the talking while all you had to do was dominate worked perfectly. MVP recruited Shelton Benjamin, and this was the first time we saw the Hurt Business formed. And at Payback, Bobby Lashley beat Apollo Crews to become the United States Champion. Then the next few weeks, it was Hurt Business versus opponents who kept getting in their way. One of those opponents was Cedric Alexander. He was recruited by the Hurt Business as well, so he turned on his tag partners to join the faction. And just like that, the careers of everyone involved was revived. After this, they got into a rivalry with one of the most forgettable factions in recent memory, Retribution. Hurt Business absolutely cleaned the floor with these clowns. It was just rematch after rematch after rematch, but Hurt Business was always on top. They would go on to dominate the entire roster. They would soon begin to show some tension. Not too long after this, Bobby would lose his title at Elimination Chamber in a triple threat match, and the rest after this was history. Bobby Lashley will face The Miz in a lumberjack match and defeated him in 3 minutes to become the new WWE champion. This was his first world title win in WWE, and they break up the Hurt Business? You can't make this shit up. You have one of the most well put together factions in a very long time, and you drop the ball as soon as Bobby becomes champion? What sense does that make? First Shelton and Cedric lose the titles, then you drop the faction altogether, and guess what happened to the both of them afterwards? They were left at catering for the rest of their careers. Bobby would then go on to defeat them both in a singles match, and then face Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, where he retained his championship due to the referee's decision. The pandemic era was the best that Bobby Lashley was booked, and everything after that was just trash. He dominated Kofi at the Money in the Bank, he dominated his former stablemates, he destroyed a returning Keith Lee, and the next person to confront Bobby Lashley was Oldberg. Yeah, this sack of balls excuse of a wrestler challenged Bobby Lashley next, and the match went just as expected. Garbage. Bobby won, and Shitberg went back into hibernation. The next couple of weeks, for some reason, Bobby and MVP are participating in tag matches and competing for the tag titles. Anyways, after these tag matches, Bobby will go on to defeat Orton in the championship match, and then Big E cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase to become the new WWE champion. Bobby's first reign as WWE champion was decent, with a couple of questionable decisions. The week after losing the title, he will face the new champion and Roman Reigns in a triple threat match, and he got pinned. Bobby continued to feud with the New Day, facing them at Extreme Rules, and he lost. He faced Big E the following night for the championship, and he lost. He had a rematch against Big E, and it ended in a no contest, which means he lost. Then he went back to facing Goldberg, as if we didn't suffer enough, and he lost. Bobby must have a fetish with bad booking, because if I was booked like this in the company, I would have left a long time ago. He dominated the Mysterios back-to-back weeks, as if it was going to boost up his credibility. I'm going to skip to day one, because I will sound like a broken record telling you how the next few weeks went. What was originally supposed to be a fatal 4-way match at day one for the championship turned into a fatal 5-way match. Brock Lesnar, for some reason, was just added to the match for no reason and won the fucking title. 2021 in a nutshell, folks. For some reason, these losers get a #1 contender match to see who faces Brock at the Royal Rumble. Bobby Lashley ended up winning that, and we were finally going to receive the dream match we have been waiting for years. Man, during this buildup of this rivalry, Brock Lesnar was kicking Bobby's ass on the mic. The fact that Bobby never improved on the mic after all these years is something I'll never be able to wrap my head around. MVP was literally this guy's saving grace. The match at Royal Rumble sucked ass like every other Brock match that followed the same formula. There was a referee bump, and Roman came in, speared Brock, and Bobby stole the championship. Why the hell did Big E lose the championship in the first place if Brock was just going to lose it in a month anyway? Bobby winning the championship in a fluke way is not a great way to give him his second championship win. By the way, this dude won the Royal Rumble later on in the night. Fuck you, Vince. The following night, Brock issues a rematch, but MVP declines and tells him to earn his spot. Then for some reason, this bald guy announces that Brock is entering the Elimination Chamber to challenge for the championship anyway. The Elimination Chamber was all pointless because Brock Lesnar ended up winning the title back, which caught no one by surprise. We already know Vince loves running that Roman versus Brock main event whenever he gets a chance, so everyone knew it was going to be title versus title at Mania with them two involved. Bobby Lashley was yet again another pawn in the game. He took some time off and returned to confront Omos. It's like shit booking after shit booking. It was set in stone, Omos versus Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania 38 Night 2. Yay. This match sucked ass. Omos can't wrestle, and Bobby isn't going to get a 5-star match out of this guy, so it was doomed from the beginning. Bobby Lashley took the victory, and we were just hoping for this to be the end of the rivalry. They feuded for 2 more months. MVP was aligned with Omos, but nobody fucking cares, and this rivalry dragged on for far too long. Bobby lost to Omos at WrestleMania Backlash, and Bobby got his win back at Hell in a Cell. After this, Almighty was now part of the mid-card division, where he had to be stuck in a rivalry with Austin Theory. This rivalry also sucks. This was when Bobby and Theory had a pose-off to main event on Raw. A pose-off ended a show in 2022. And to make things worse, Theory squirted baby oil into Bobby's eyes and hit him with a dropkick. I can't believe I just read that out loud. Then the next week, Theory did a pose-off himself, and Bobby returned the favor and squirted baby oil into Theory's eyes and speared him for his troubles. Bobby Lashley would go on to face Theory at Money in the Bank and secure the US Championship, defeating him clean. They will go on to have a rematch at SummerSlam, which was the biggest waste of time possible. Bobby beat Theory in 5 minutes. That was a match on one of the big 4 pay-per-views, by the way. To be fair, this title reign for Bobby was actually pretty decent. He faced Ciampa in a banger match on Raw. He battled AJ Styles in another banger on Raw. He defended against The Miz in a steel cage match. He faced Rollins in a banger match on Raw. He manhandled Mustafa Ali, which made him look like an absolute badass. But the way he lost the championship is the part that really angers me the most. He got his ass whooped by Brock Lesnar, and Seth Rollins came out and challenged him to a match. Seth Rollins beat Bobby for the championship, and once again, the Almighty was screwed. Bobby challenged Brock after this to a match at Crown Jewel. The following show, Bobby Lashley called Brock out and kicked his ass, spearing him through the barricade, then putting him through the table. These two were going to brawl again, and it was finally looking like Bobby was going to be taken as a serious threat again, and that these two were going to have a better match than what they had at the Royal Rumble. But boy, were we all wrong once again. The match ended in 6 minutes because Brock managed to pin Bobby while he was in a hurt lock. This was just another big ass waste of time because we've been waiting for these massive beasts to have an absolute grueling matchup, and they just throw up shitter after shitter after shitter. The following Raw, Bobby would cost Theory his cash in on the US title, and these three would go on to face each other at Survivor Series. The match was awesome, but the wrong guy won it. Theory ended up winning the title, and Bobby was once again getting screwed. as if his entire career hasn't been him getting screwed anyway. A couple of weeks later, Bobby would face Theory for the championship again in a no DQ match. Brock Lesnar interfered and cost him the win, leading to Theory retaining. This fused into the Royal Rumble as Bobby Lashley eliminated Brock Lesnar from the Rumble. This led to their last match at Elimination Chamber. This match was ass too. 4 minutes, wasted time, no importance. Bray Wyatt challenged whoever won that match to a match at WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley ended up winning and it was set. Bray versus Bobby at Mania. Unfortunately, things never really got to form properly due to the passing of Bray, so I can't say much about this rivalry. This basically killed all of Bobby's momentum because he's basically kicked off the card of WrestleMania with no real backup plan. He would go back to the US title picture facing Bronson Reed and Austin Theory at Backlash. This was a very decent match and really showcased how good all three of these performers are, but man, it sucks to see Bobby just take loss after loss after loss. Bobby would get drafted to SmackDown and there was a lot of speculation on whether Bobby was finally going to face the tribal chief Roman Reigns. Spoiler alert, it never happened. Anyways, for some reason, he was in a tournament that determined the new World Heavyweight Champion for Raw, which made no sense. He lost anyway, but I was still confused as to why he was in it if he was a SmackDown guy. For the next month, Bobby Lashley was trying to recruit the Street Profits to create a trio to take over SmackDown named The Pride. Fans were getting hyped because we were finally going to be able to get a new version of the Hurt Business. But this trio was the biggest fumble ever. First off, they tried to make the crowd boo the Street Profits, which was never going to work, and you paired them with Bobby Lashley? This group was never going to get booed. No one took these guys seriously as a heel act, therefore they were getting babyface pop but were attacking babyface characters. They would go on to have a boring ass feud with the LWO that led to nobody benefiting in the end. Then Bobby went on to qualify for the Elimination Chamber that was for the World Heavyweight Championship? Why are SmackDown stars competing for Raw championships? Make it make sense. This was under the Triple H regime, so I don't want to hear no excuses for his booking. Bobby would then go on to feud with the Final Testament. This was easily the worst feud of 2024. This had no heat going into it. Nobody on the Final Testament was over. Bobby Lashley is boring on the mic. The Street Profits were ice cold. Karrion Kross is boring. This whole rivalry was just a recipe for disaster. Literally no one cared about this and it was the worst part of the show. This feud lasted forever and ended at WrestleMania, which was a miracle because literally nobody enjoyed this garbage. After this, Bobby Lashley has not been on TV because of an injury that he has been dealing with, and now it seems like he's not even going to re-sign his contract whenever it expires. I think it's better for him to leave the company because his value is not the greatest right now in WWE. I mean, what the hell can you really do to revive his character at this point? The Pride has accomplished nothing and is dead in the water. Bobby is a charisma vacuum, and Triple H has a hard time booking the mid-card division for SmackDown. The man is 49 years old, so if he wants to leave the company, then let him do his thing and flourish somewhere else. If I was him, I would have left the company as soon as the Lana storyline was mentioned. How the hell did I forget that this man was steady showing his booty on live TV with Leo Rush? Weird times, man. Weird fucking times. Bobby Lashley's second run in WWE was not the best, with only a few bright spots here and there, but the inconsistencies in the booking is ultimately what led to his inevitable downfall. Okay, so I promised a hype reveal at 3,000 subscribers and we have officially reached that. I am 5 feet 4 inches tall. Don't be cutting my ass in the comments. And if you feel like you're lonely on Mondays and Fridays and Tuesdays when you're watching your Monday Night Raw, your Friday Night SmackDown, your Tuesday Night NXTs, make sure you join the Discord. It's gonna be down in the link description. I'ma pin it first one in the comments. So make sure you join that Discord. We be active in there. Love you guys. I'm out of here. Goodbye.